The studies I mentioned before showed that a number of diets work. The high carbohydrate and very low fat diets, which are whole food plant-based, like the Ornish diet, or the high protein and low carbohydrate diets like the Paleo, or the high fat and low carb diets like the ketogenic diet. The truth is, they all work to some degree. Now, I appreciate that some people's food choices are not just about their weight, but also about their overall health and even considerations like ethical choices and environmental choices. And you know what? That's fantastic. So you decide what's based on you and your personal preferences, and you work with a therapist to review this. But hopefully this info gives you support no matter what you choose. One study called the Pounds Loss Study, or Preventing Overweight Using Novel Dietary Strategies, it was a 2-year trial comparing different weight loss strategies, and it found that healthy diets that varied in the proportions of carbohydrates, proteins and fats work equally well in the long run, and that there was no speed advantage for one diet over another. However, there is some evidence that a low carbohydrate diet may help people lose weight more quickly than a low fat diet. The DIRECT study compared low carb, low fat and Mediterranean style diets and found that after 2 years, weight loss and maintenance of that weight loss were better for low carbohydrate and Mediterranean style diets as compared to low fat diets. The A to Z weight loss study showed that after 12 months, the low carb diet lost about 2 to 2.5 kilos, or about 5 pounds more than the low fat diets. So it seems pretty clear that while some diets may have an edge, like the low carb diets, they're all roughly similar, and the common ground is healthy food and less of it. But remember, it is not just about your weight. It is also about other factors like improving your blood pressure, your cholesterol and blood sugars, and so on. A 2012 meta-analysis study with 2,500 people found that both low carb and low fat diets both reduce blood pressure, blood sugars and cholesterol about the same, with perhaps a slight advantage to the low carbohydrate diet for cholesterol. A key point though is, what do you replace the carbohydrate with? Now you can replace those carbohydrates with more vegetables, nuts, seeds, herbs and spices and healthy fats, or you could replace them with lots of meat, refined fats and processed food like protein bars. A prospective cohort study of 82,000 nurses in the United States reported that a low-carb diet that replaced the carbs with vegetables and plant proteins and healthy fats like the unsaturated fats was associated with a lower risk of coronary heart disease and all causes of death over the 19 years of follow-up in both men and women. In contrast, a low carbohydrate diet emphasizing animal sources of fat and protein was associated with a higher risk of type 2 diabetes and all-cause mortality or death from all causes. So whilst it matters what you take out, it also matters what you replace it with. So in conclusion, both low fat and low carbs work to a degree, but low carb may have an edge if you replace those carbs with a healthy vegetable fat or protein, usually plant-based fat and plant-based protein. If you think a low-carb diet is the one for you, that basically means reducing, but not necessarily excluding, just reducing the foods you eat like grains, rice, pasta, wheat, breads, cereals, potatoes and corn, and replacing them with vegetables, herbs, spices, nuts, seeds, and healthy choices for fat like the mono and polyunsaturated fats like olive oil, avocados, and healthy protein sources like fish, nuts, legumes, and poultry. The main problem with a strict low carbohydrate diet or low carb diet is compliance, meaning how well can you actually stick to it. It can be hard to stick to it, as it's quite restrictive, and some people, if they're too strict, run the risk of certain nutrient deficiencies, and I'm going to discuss this later in the video on ketogenic diets. Generally, for both strict low-fat and low-carb diets, long-term adherence or long-term ability to stick to that diet is the number one key. A meta-analysis of 27 studies in 2016 showed that the overall adherence rate was about 60% for 12 months. Another, more positive study in 2009 showed that the average adherence was 85% for the Mediterranean diet versus 78% for the low-carb or low-carbohydrate diet. So you can see here that the Mediterranean diet has a bit of an edge. Hence, next we're going to talk about the Mediterranean diet, which is one of the diets with the most evidence behind it and one of the easiest to stick to.